Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar today. Today we will be discussing MYOB Advanced, in particular the Field Services Management module. We ran a webinar around the general functionality of MYOB Advanced a few weeks ago, and if you're interested in seeing more of the day-to-day user experience features, then please head over to our website and sign up for an on-demand copy of that webinar. It is only 30 minutes and you can watch it at your own time. I'm Juanita Potgieter, and I look after sales and marketing here at Verde, and I'm going to be your host and moderator for today. We will start this webinar by providing a quick high-level overview of the field services module, along with some of the benefits and the features, and then we'll get into a demo, and at the end we'll have some questions and answers. However, throughout the call, you don't have to wait until the end to submit your questions. You can go ahead and use the chat function at any time, and any questions that we're not able to answer live on the call because of timing, we will make sure to reach out to you individually. So with that and our limited time, let's get into it. Now, MYOB Advanced was introduced into the Australian and New Zealand market in 2014, and it was the first true cloud ERP solution built specifically for the ANZ marketplace. Since then, other competitors have entered the market, but Advance is still the clear leader. At the moment, we have over 1,000 sites in Australia and New Zealand. But Advanced is a localized version of an international piece of software called Acumatica. And MYOB have the rights to regionalize Acumatica for the ANZ space, and as such have rebranded the product as MYOB Advanced. Now, Acumatica is hitting the high growth phase of their product lifecycle. They currently have over 6,500 customers, and they're still seen as the fastest growing cloud ERP vendor. The benefit, of course, for our current and future clients is that Advanced will continue to evolve in line with global requirements as Acumatica evolves. It is important to also understand that MYOB Advanced is a fully integrated ERP solution. So even though we're talking about field service management today, everything is integrated into one solution. So from finance, inventory management, customer management, sales and purchasing management, project accounting, and of course, field service management, it's all integrated into one cloud-based solution. It is 100% browser enabled. So it runs on any device using any browser. As long as you have access to the internet, you have access to your data that lives within MYOB Advanced. Now, the Field Services Management module comprises of three modules, which is Service Management, Equipment Management, and Route Management. The Service Management component is all about managing the life cycle of service orders. This module provides functionality for creating service orders, tracking of service orders, creating appointments, signing or dispatching those appointments to our technicians, and then provides mobility for those technicians to do their work and interact with the customer. And we will be showing all of that today. The other two modules are equipment management and route management, and we might not have time to go into that today, but as always, we are happy to do a more tailored demo for you should you wish to see any of the functionality in more detail. The equipment management, it's all about managing equipment of your company and customers. It allows us to track customer warranties, manage contracts, and run schedules for maintenance contracts and repair services. And the route management is a specific module which combines the route services contract appointments and creates a route plan which needs to be actioned. It's all about managing routes in the system, creating the worksheet, start and complete the route, and eventually closing it. Now, I'm going to include a little bit of project accounting today as well to show that integration between field service management and project accounting. And the project accounting suite is also made up of three modules. The project cost tracking module allows me to create projects, create budgets and tasks and other items on those projects, and then track the cost against those projects and create wonderful project reports that show the status of the project. So the cost invested in the project and the revenue that has been generated to date. Advanced billing allows me to bill in multiple ways, whether that's cost plus or fixed price, milestone, or contract specific billing. It will provide me the functionality to create the billing that I need to have that competitive advantage with my customers. And then time and expense management works hand in hand with project accounting, thus allowing me to create time and expense entries and charge those to specific projects. Let's just have a quick look at some of the features and benefits of the Field Services Management module. We've already discussed that we can schedule and dispatch, and we can do that directly from our call center, and I'll show that a little bit later. We have route planning and optimization built into the product. The management of service contracts, integration with GPS, with Google Maps and Bing Maps to allow you to know where your equipment and your human capital is at all times. Of course, we have the mobile service management capability, which allow technicians to confirm appointments and record work activities performed, and the information will then sync back to the system in real time. And I will show you that today as well. The equipment management will also allow us to track equipment and their warranties and manage specific contracts. Dashboards, of course, bring all this together, and then it provides us a team approach to sales and project costing. The benefits of project accounting, of course, we have to start with budgeting. Budgeting against projects let us view the project, the totals, and we know where we are compared to the revenue. Our project field service integration with projects allow me to schedule appointments and schedule talent against those projects. I can create project quotes. I can create company-specific financial periods. If I'd like to view one of my customers' specific profit and loss on projects, I'm able to do that with specific periods, of course. Fully multi-currency enabled allows for multiple versions of revenue, revenue recognition, and also tracks for me the change orders in project accounting. So we just got a powerful combination. What industries can we serve? Well, we can serve all the service trades, right? Whether it's installation of HVAC, whether it's a repair of a residential or commercial items, management of lawn care or landscaping, professional services, software firms, consulting firms, engineering and architects, internal maintenance departments. So if you have a large internal maintenance exercise that you need to undertake, we can provide for you the tracking for that. And of course, you can hire general contractors. Other general contractors with warranty departments, the projects and the services is working hand in hand to allow us to deliver great customer service while still tracking our business responsibilities. And of course, as we discussed, anybody with a service and delivery routes that they need to have that are fixed, repetitive routes. Okay, so we'll do a quick overview of how each and every module of service management is derived by various components and how we can actually work with it. So the core concept of service management is to manage service orders in the system. A service order can be a quote, a normal service order, a route service order, or it can be an internal service order. A quote is a sales quote which can be turned into a service order at a later point in time. Our route service order is specifically used when you have an environment where you have specific routes for your customers and you service their equipment or provide a service on a regular basis on a specific geographical location. The internal service order is managing the service order not for billing purposes, but for internal company purposes. Later, that can be integrated to other parts of the system, like the project accounting, if you wish. The equipment management concept and core of equipment management lies around three different types of equipment. Model equipment is like stock item that is available for sale, which has got warranties assigned to it. Once you sell model equipment, it then becomes target equipment, and a separate record is created in the system where you manage the stock item, the warranty, and other information such as purchase date, company warranty, supplier warranty, etc. The last one, resource equipment, which is like the tools or equipment in your company that you use to do services, like a laptop or meters or gauges, etc. The skills license and service area plays a very important role when you're working in a field service management environment. As an example, if someone came into your home to do a gas repair service, it's not something a normal person can do, right? And for that, you need a specific skill set and you may need a license, the likes of an electrician or a plumber. In order to effectively manage those skills licenses, we have the ability in the system that allows us to track and manage the information. And when you actually work with the service orders, it will allow you to restrict certain activities of work if you do not have the specific skill set. In a similar way, in the service area, for example, I have, say, two branches. One is based in X and one in Y, and you don't want your service technicians from X to do work in Y. So you can restrict the service areas as well. So last, contracts. You have specific service contracts, equipment contracts, or route contracts. You can manage contracts with multiple schedules, and once you create service orders and appointments from schedules, the technicians can go out and fulfill those service contracts, and later on you can decide whether it's billable or not. You can generate appointments automatically for all service contracts with equipment maintenance requirements as well. So, project accounting activities. First off, project accounting budgeting is so critical. We need to budget for the revenue, we need to budget the cost, and then we need to track the actuals against that. We need the flexibility. That's what advanced billing provides us. It also provides project specific currencies, and if we need project specific terms, project specific billing rules, we can be as flexible as our customers demand for us to be. And then, of course, connectivity. Project accounting is central to MYOB Advanced. Transactions can be posted to projects from the GL, sales order, purchase orders, service orders, time and expenses, and more. And that is why the single source of truth is so important. So I just want to show you the resource allocation calendar board, which gives you kind of a single view of your various services and various people working on different services at different times and dates. It gives the service manager a single view of all the staff, who's working on which area and which type of service orders. Are they still active, confirmed, cancelled, etc. So for those emergency service calls, you can use visual tools to add unplanned service calls, find out how changes to planned routes will affect the team with the least amount of impact to the planned schedule, and have the new service order sent to the technician's mobile device. The calendar board also allows you to enter the appointments on the fly. So like in a call center environment, when someone calls and says, I want something serviced or I need electrical service, you can quickly create an appointment in the calendar board and assign a person. You don't need to go through the whole process of creating the service order first. I will demo this, but you can either click on the corner or you can simply drag and drop your mouse into the calendar to create the appointment quickly. You can increase or decrease the time frame of the appointment by just dragging and dropping or just moving the fields around. You can drill down on appointments and look at the details, or even drill down further to service order level. You can also edit and clone appointments for repeated appointments, or if you have a similar appointment. It just makes it a lot faster. You can also decide to mark appointments as confirmed or unconfirmed. So when you create an appointment in the system, it becomes red. And once the appointment is confirmed by the technician who's going to do it, it will become green. And it will become gray, say, when the appointment is closed. So easy color coding, completely customized for you. There are a bunch of shortcut keys as well, and I'm just showing you this one screen with a lot of different activities to give you an idea of what it could potentially look like. So with Advanced, we also have a mobile app. map, and I've included a few screenshots to highlight the process. So, for example, once a service order is booked and confirmed, the service technician checks his appointments every day. He then clicks on the appointment, and he also has the ability to click on View Map, and he can get into his directions. They can also call the customer regarding parking, or if they need to tell them that they're going to be a bit late. Once they get on site, they select Start Appointment, and once he's done, he completes the appointment, and he can get feedback on his appointment or even get a signature within the app itself. This is then all saved against the appointment, and you can send it back to them later on if you choose to do that. The service tech can also take a photo of the work they have done, and it all syncs back to the system in real time. But I will jump onto this a bit later, and I'll actually demo this for you. The other thing is also the map view. So this allows you to have a graphical representation of your service orders and your technicians and the work they are doing on a day-to-day basis. It gives you a single view of the number of appointments you have in different locations. You can see route statistics and travel time between one location to another. So showing the full integration of the modules, so with case management, for example, if you sold a piece of equipment to a customer like a heat pump, and say after some time the customer calls, there's a problem with the equipment, a person will record the information or create a case. If he can't resolve the case and they need someone to go on site and do the work, they can quickly create a service order from the case management module, and then once that happens, the system will create a service order with the information, and that is then sent to the service manager, who will assign a technician to confirm the appointment. And then again, with opportunities, a lead can be created in the system using the CRM module and now progress to an opportunity where they've been provided with a quote on our products and services. Once the quote is accepted, you have to go through the option of converting the quote to a service order. And once the service order is created, the technician is assigned and they can then complete the job. So in a similar flow, once you win an opportunity, you can also convert it to a sales order. And if the sales order includes services from a service technician where it requires appointments, you will also have the option to convert a sales order to a service order. And from there, the service order process will kick in. Or to a project. You can even set it to raise purchase orders for stock if required, if there's no stock in place. So you can see it's quite flexible and many different parts that we can integrate into your field services management delivery. With timesheet integration, the time that is recorded during the appointment will automatically be recorded as time activities in the time and expenses modules. And this is the same with projects. So you could even convert your opportunity to a project. With the project accounting integration, you can create a project with a service order, and because the system allows you to track the project and project task in the service order within the service order lines, when an appointment is performed for that service order, a time activity becomes available. Once the appointment is confirmed and started and then completed, the time is recorded as a time activity in our time and expense module, and in order to recognize the cost of that time activity, we just need to mark it as billable. And once you release the time activity, the information will automatically be available in the project cost allocation area. And based on the billing rules that are defined, it could be fixed price or time and materials project. So it will bill it accordingly. It's really quite beneficial in a project's environment. Now you have the flexibility of setting up notifications for any activity that takes place. So whether you want to send a notification to a customer that appointment has been booked, or you want to send a notification to a staff member that an appointment needs attention, you can completely customize what type of notifications you want to send and when you want to send them. And then lastly, this is just an example of maintenance contract campaigns. So working in a contracts environment could be a service contract, equipment contract, something that has an expiry, some unlimited. But if you wanted to notify customers that their contract is expiring, say 3 months prior, we can automate this process to notify customers with our mass email, and that utilizes the marketing platform that is already part of the MYOB Advanced offering. And with that, I'm going to move on to the good stuff, and I'm going to show you how we can do this in MYOB. So just bear with me while I switch over my screen here. So this is the MYOB Advanced webpage, and I've opened it up on my Field Services Manager dashboard. This web page, of course, is significant because MYOB Advanced is built in the cloud for the cloud, and it provides me access to my system from anywhere at any time, from any device, as long as I can get to a browser and the internet. Now, you can set this as the main screen when you log into Advanced, and we can set up dashboards for you. You can have individual dashboards for each user or each group of users. In this case, here we see the Field Services Manager dashboard, and of course, dashboards in MYOB Advanced provide me a view of single source of truth, and it allows me to focus on the items that I need to make myself the most efficient person that I can be. So basically, the field service manager is someone who's going to be allocating the appointments to employees or assigning and creating service orders, determining what type of service will be needed for different orders. And dashboards in Advanced is actually very interactive. So if I go and look at this particular graph, I can see what the specific values are. So you have a graph like this in terms of the number of orders. We are able to see who's doing a lot of jobs and who's actually really slacking. We have what we call scorecards or KPI scorecards. Here you can see the counts or even dollar values. It is very customizable and quite easy to configure. As long as the data is in the system, we can put it into a dashboard. Alternatively, you can also have something for your technicians. So if I sign in as a user and open this one, it's going to show me all the tasks relevant to myself. So I can see here that today I don't have any open appointments anymore. I've already completed 2 within the week, and the system gets updated automatically once you transact in the system. Great. So let me go back to our field service manager. So let's get into more of the process related things in terms of servicing. Now, with Advanced, you have the ability to allow for a call center environment, as I mentioned, and this is where you can handle service calls. And we do that in Advanced through what we call case management. So it's part of the built in CRM within Advanced. And what it does, it really allows you to take in the details from essentially doing your triaging. So when the initial call comes in, you'll be able to track all of the activities that you've done surrounding that particular case. Now, I absolutely love the universal search function that we have in Advanced. It not only helps you search for specific transactions, if I start typing service here, it's going to show me all of the transactions that have the word service on them. But it can actually help you look for data. So, for example, someone calls into the call center and all you really got was the number from them. You weren't able to hear their name. You can just even type in the number, and then you should be able to find a specific contact in the system with that number. So once you go through the call, you can start creating a case. So for example, if I open up one of these cases I already created here, you can start taking down the details. So we have a free space here to type free text, so you can start getting your details as part of your triage. And then when you determine that it needs to get converted as a service order, you can do it from here as well. You will be able to select whether it's a regular service order, if it's a reactive call, and things like that. You can assign it with a specific area in terms of who's going to be supporting it. So before I go into the service order itself, what I have here is all the service orders. The system gives me the listing of the service orders that I have on the system, so all of the open ones and the closed ones. And this is actually an example of a generic inquiry in the system. So this is what underpins the different elements that we're seeing on the dashboard as well. Now, that's all very easy to use as well, and it's all very modifiable and customizable. You can just move columns around as you need it. You can easily, let's say, if you want to see all the open service orders, just use the built-in filter function. You also have a search function. So let's say you want to look for all the service orders that we have for a certain company that you've been servicing. You can do that too. One thing that's built into the system as well is a set ability to create pivot tables. So for example, if you wanted to do a pivot, say for the number of hours that you're spending per customer on services, you can do that. And the UI or interface for that is very similar to Excel. So the learning curve there is going to be really fast for your employees. Good, so now let's dive into the service order itself. Let me just open this particular one. So when we create the service order in the system, you can indicate the different services and the different inventory items that you're going to be using, and we'll get to that now. But on here, let's say, for example, for the cases that you raise or the service orders that get raised, you can put specific service level agreements for it so that it gets flagged as an urgent task that needs to be done. So you can set that severity or priority as well. And we can also maintain different problem codes. I don't have them in here, but you can use cost codes and different resolution codes. So it's just later on going to be helpful for you in terms of your reporting and seeing what often comes up, what you might need more training on, or how often you come in and you see that it's really no issue. Okay, so we maintain services in the system through inventory IDs, but these are service items in the system, so they're not stock related. We primarily use it to be able to set the pricing as well for the service. So we can do specific pricing for certain customers. So now let's say I have a specific call out fee, and if we go into the item, we would be able to maintain separate sales prices for that particular item. So let's say you can have different levels. So you can have your set base price, but you can maintain one for specific customers. You can maintain one specific to a group of customers. So let's say you have your key accounts that you manage. You can set a different, what we call a price class for them. So on our service line items, we can determine whether it's a flat rate or a time-based rate. So let's say things like if you do a call-out fee, you can have it as a flat rate, but then the actual tasks that require you to do work can be put as time-based. Regardless, from a scheduling perspective, you can maintain indicative hours for them, just so you can manage the scheduling of appointments. Right, so moving to inventory items, we can add inventory to your service order as well. So whether these are items that are going to be consumed, let's say wires and things like that, or we can include sellable items that you're going to then have to manage for your customers. So let's say, for example, you're replacing an intercom for them. And if you look at the column here, we can see a column for equipment action. So what this basically says is that I'm going to be selling this particular item to a customer, and then I'm going to be tracking it in the system in terms of the warranty. And let's say all of the servicing that's going to be done to that item later on. So we can also add parts, and we can also replace parts for that particular item. So one thing that's important in some servicing businesses would be certification. There are certain tasks that only certified people can do, as I mentioned earlier. When we go into our staff here, we have a built-in staff selector, and you can assign specific skills. But then we can also maintain licenses. So, for example, if there's a certain task or work that only, say, a EWRB certified electrician can do, you can select the particular license, and the system will tell you all of the people that are licensed to do the actual work. And that is tagged per type of service as well. So, for example, if there's one task there that requires certification and you were trying to assign it, the system won't allow you to assign it to a person that is not certified. But I'll close this window for now. I would like to show you how we can select it on the calendar board rather. Now, let's say you have expensive items, like usually the items that you use to test lines, like the continuity testers. You would want to track where these are, at which jobs they were used for. We can add them as well. Okay, right. So let's say we firmed up the service order, so we know that we need to go in and service a particular customer. We can now proceed to scheduling it. So from here, it's a matter of going to schedule it on the calendar board. This calendar board, like I mentioned, is very interactive. It's just a matter of dragging the service order on here to create the appointment and assign it to a particular user. We can also maintain specific work hours. So if you have people working just certain hours, we can maintain their schedules in the system. And we will get flagged if we say try to assign an appointment to a service technician during their out of office hours. Right, so let's assign this to a particular technician. We saw on our dashboard that he's not been doing that many jobs. He's a slacker. So essentially what this does, it copies all of the details from the service order and creates your appointment. And it sets the time that you selected on the calendar board when the appointment needs to happen. We do have what we call branch locations. So this is based on Sydney just because that's the demo data that I'm using. But we can maintain, and say you have multiple depots or multiple branches that you're working out of, we can maintain that in the system. We also have workflow stages. You can maintain like a different steps that a technician has to go through before or during an appointment. So let's say, for example, you need a checklist of things that they need to confirm. Maybe they need to do a safety check first and things like that before they start working. We can tag them in here as well. Another option is what we call attributes. So an attribute in Advanced is essentially a free set of fields that you can use for whatever purpose you want. So let's say if you would want to have that specific checklist that you need to fulfill, we can have it as mandatory in the system and make them first indicate that they've completed it before they can go through and do the appointment. So now let's try and save this particular appointment and see what happens. So as I mentioned, if you try and assign an appointment to a particular user that doesn't have the required license, we're going to get a message like this. So I guess he does have an excuse on why he's not able to do so many jobs. So let's try and assign it to a different user. So let me close this one and let's drag this again to another technician. Right, so let me save this now. So now it's gone through and we have confirmed an appointment. Now we can set up notifications like I mentioned. So let's say at the time you create the appointment, we can trigger it to send an email to your customer confirming the appointment on this date and time. So what I'll do now is I'll close this and let's go and do the actual work for the appointment on the mobile. All right, so you should be able to see my screen up now, and this is what we call the MYOB Advanced on-the-go app. It is free. You can download it from the App Store or from the Google App Store. As long as you have a valid license for MYOB Advanced, you'll be able to log into this. The nice thing about this is that even the dashboards that we have, you should be able to see it on here as well. So if I click on the Field Service Technician dashboard, it's going to show me all of my appointments. Now we know that a while ago we didn't have any open appointments, but now since we've been assigned a new one, we should be able to see it on here now. Right, so now let's jump into the appointment itself. If I go into my appointments list, it's going to show me all of my appointments, so including the ones that I've completed and the ones that are pending for action. So you can filter that as well. So if, say, you want to only see from one day to another, you can just apply a filter. So let's open the appointment screen here for that appointment that was assigned to us. The app is completely integrated with your phone. So if I took the appointment while I was in the field, I can click through my map here and it's going to open up my phone's map, and actually you can then do your navigation to the location from here. Okay, so let's come back into the app again. So again, all of the data that you would need or that you would need for the appointment that's available on your browser, you should be able to see on your app. So the list of services, I know that these are the things that they need me to do, all the inventory items as well. So what we can do here is if you say using Vans, say if you're loading inventory into Vans, we can put separate locations within what we call the warehouse management system. Specifically your van, so we know at any point who's got inventory at any moment. So what I'd like to do now is we can start the appointment. So we got to the site already. It's a matter of clicking start appointment and it captures the time that you actually set the appointment to start. So say you start working on the task and you find out there's additional things that need to be added. So you ended up buying more items to be used. You can always add it in the app as well. So let's say it's an item that is not part of inventory, it's an incidental expense. So you went down to the hardware and you had to buy some wire. We can add it on here as well. Let's say additional wire, and then you can put the cost on here. If they need to attach the receipt as well of the purchase, they can do that also. Alternatively, if let's say they use their own cash, you can actually book expenses as well on the app. So let's say additional wire, like 3 meters of wire, put some costs in there, set it's billable, and let's add this one. I'm just going to add an inventory item. So let's add this one now, and let's add an additional item quantity and put a price on here. So let's say $45. Right, so let's get this added towards our title now. So essentially, this is all that we were going to be charging. So your service for them, the service fee for installation, the call out fee, rewiring fee, or the rewiring that you're doing, and then the item you're going to be selling. So let's save this one. So let's say you've gone through the servicing. What we can do in the system as well is that you can have the customer actually sign it, as I mentioned, and that gets attached to the service order as an attachment. Alternatively, we can take a photo as well and say how you service them, especially around the installation of HVAC systems. You usually have to take a photo of the pipes and so on. So we can do that on here as well, and it gets attached here. So let me just save this one again before we complete it. Great, so we can complete the appointment and close it. Alternatively, let's say they want to see the activity report, we can do that as well. We can also let you, once you complete the appointment, we can send back a notification to head office through an email that it's been completed, and then they should be able to find it in the system if you want to put that check in place before an invoice is generated. We can set up the system in such a way that once the appointment is closed, the service order can automatically be closed as well. But if you wanted that as a separate step, we can definitely do that. When we now go back and look at our service order, we can see that the status has changed to closed, and we can now select to manually invoice this service order. Now, say eventually we get to the point where we know that the data coming in from appointments are accurate and the pricing is correct, we can actually then just schedule this and say at the end of our day or maybe twice a day, we can send out invoices. So in this case, let's just process this one manually. Right, so it's done now. So what that's done for us is it actually created what we call a service order invoice. So it's a combination of our sales order and an invoice. And the reason for that is we have an inventory item that we essentially sold to the customer, right? So if I go on here, we should be able to see this particular invoice. And then if you want, you can have an approval process for invoices as well. So we can set up an approval process for this one. So let's say you can generate the invoices automatically, and then someone can still go through and look through it before it gets sent out. So I'll just release this, say let's keep it all the same, everything is correct. And what this does then, when we release the invoice, first it books your AR into your GL, it picks the item as well from your inventory and posts the appropriate things in your inventory account, and it actually creates a target equipment for us. What we're able to do is create equipment in the system for products that we sold to our customers. So we can track the warranty. We can actually track two types of warranty, one from the manufacturer and one from ourselves. And on here, you can see where it's at, so the physical location, whether it's with the customer or with us, and who actually owns the product. So let's say, for example, you have scenarios where you are leasing out items to a customer. You can keep it owned by yourself, but then locate it at the customer. So you'll be able to track it either way. On here, you can also see when it was installed, which service order was used to do the installation, and you're able to track as well the history of all the servicing that has been done to that item. So it allows you then to track, say, how many jobs you've done under warranty within that period, when it was still in warranty. So obviously that's going to be a cost at your end. So as I mentioned on here, we can also add different components. So let's say you have an intercom and you have to replace the keypad, or you have to replace the camera. You can add them as components on there. You can create the service order, reference this particular equipment, and add a new part or replacement part. Those individual parts and those individual components will have their own warranties as well, and you can track them separately as well. So it's easier for you to manage which jobs you can then charge and which jobs you have to provide for free. What I'd like to cover now is around projects. So essentially, as I touched on earlier, everything in the system, all of the modules in the system is integrated, and the integration between the field services modules and the project accounting modules is a seamless integration. So let me open up a project that I have maintained here. And let's say you have a long-term project that you're running, you still have the ability to set different tasks. So we can set up milestone billing, time and materials, or do monthly claims on the percentage of the job completed, or fixed price. And in this one, you can see I have it billing on demand. But you can set up a monthly billing type, and as you go through the completion of the phase, you just update the completion, and the system will automatically compute how much you're going to charge based on what you've maintained as a revenue budget on the project. So if I set this as 80% completed, that's going to calculate that we will be able to charge $4,000 out of $5,000 here. You can also set budgets for your costs as well. So how many hours you're expecting to perform, how many materials, if there are any materials that you're going to be using. We can also maintain equipment that you're using as well. So as I mentioned earlier, through our resource equipment in the system, so for example, if there is an expensive piece of equipment that you're using, you might want to cost the runtime for it, and we can do that in the system as well. We can also generate project quotes out of the system, so you can actually build it out here. So let's say put in labor hours, the materials that will be used. You can put the cost on here, and then you can put the prices. You can also load this from an Excel file. So say your vendor sends you specific costs for the materials, you can put it on here, and what will happen then is when you convert it, it's going to add that to your budget for the project. Okay, so just to go back to the projects here, so while you're going through the project, you will be able to track the different balances. So essentially a P&L of your project, so you can see all of the costs that you have incurred and what has actually been invoiced. The system will also allow you the flexibility of invoicing per job for the project, or if you want to do it in a milestone type setup like I have it on here now. And just to show you how the system tracks the costs here, if I go back to our service orders here and open up one of the service orders that we've created for the project, we can see that it's gone through because of that integration that we have to the time and expenses module of the system. So if I open this up, you can see that it's tied to a particular project. And when we go through the appointments, we have the actual hours that were spent on it. Right, so we know that this particular staff member, Michael Andrews, was able to do the job from 2:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. So we have that particular time tracked. And if I now log in as Michael Andrews and go into time activities, we can now see that the work was done and that it is then costed into the project because we've maintained specific labor costs in the system. So if we now go into labor cost rates, you can see that we've maintained a specific hourly rate for him for a specific project. You can maintain pricing at different levels for costing for your employees. Alternatively, we can also have an employee rate for Michael Andrews. That's going to then be applicable for all the projects he works on. Right, so the last thing I'd like to show now is around service contracts. We have a built-in way to maintain your service contracts for your customers. So here we have a contract for a company. You might have a periodic check of wiring, maintenance, servicing of heat pumps. So we can put all that into a schedule in the system, and you can then determine how often it will occur. You can also set specific pricing for particular contracts. So let's say all of the call out rates for a particular contract, you can also maintain them separately, and that goes for inventory items as well. And as you fulfill the contract, you'll be able to track the contract history. So when the contract was created, when it was activated, when was the first schedule that you've created, appointments can then be automatically generated as well. So if I go into generate the service contracts, let me just edit the date here as I only have it on a yearly basis. So they extended it to 2022. And if we now process this, it is automatically going to create for you either a service order or an appointment, depending on how you would want the system set up. We should now be able to see the service order that was created. And yep, we have one for May the 1st, 2022 and 2023 because I selected the data to generate them. And then from there, you can also schedule it similar to how you would any service order that you have. We can then send out notifications, say 2 to 3 days beforehand to our customers. Before we run out of time, just to mention that there are a number of standard reports that we have, but creating reports in the system is fairly easy. So whether it's through a generic inquiry, so if there's data in the system, we can create a custom report for you, and eventually later on, that is something that you can actually learn to do yourself as well. But there's a lot of standard reports already built for you, like the service order summary, where I can see the listing of the different service orders that we have, and even these standard reports can also all be modified as well. Something similar to that, if you want to see service time activity by staff member, we can see how much work they're actually doing for each of the appointments that they've done, and you can modify this too and try to have a comparison of the estimates against the actuals as well. That's going to be helpful in two ways. One is maybe we should be adjusting our estimates, or then you can find out who's really just not up to speed, or not working as fast. So I'm just conscious of time here, and I just want to quickly have a look at some of the questions that's come through. And let's see, the first question here, will Advanced track inventory at van or technician level? Yes, so we use the concept of locations for inventory in Advanced. So we can create an inventory location either as an individual van or truck number. Or we can rather just assign inventory directly to a technician to assign that responsibility. Then we can make that technician a location and inventory and assign or transfer inventory to his responsibility in possession. So absolutely yes, we can do that. Yeah, so the next one here, is there a limit to the number or type of service codes used to provide customers with? Yeah, so service codes are customer configurable and you can have an unlimited number of service codes. So if you'd like to, if every customer really requires a different set of rules for service completion or service billing or creating signatures or whatever they may need, you could create a service order type for a specific customer and have an unlimited number. So let me just see. Last question. Can each service order type have a different workflow? Yeah, so each of those work order types that I just discussed may have its own specific customized workflow so that you can have different approval points, different responsibility for billing or modification or review. So absolutely, we can build work orders workflow by service order type. Um, yeah, fantastic. So we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on this call and for your participation. For those questions that I was not able to answer right now, I will get back to you individually. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to picking up discussions with every one of you. Thank you. Cheers.